Mel Parsons, great to talk to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks. Nice to talk to you.
It was 9 years ago, can you believe it, that I actually interviewed you. It was for the Drylands album, and you were in this room that I'm
Yeah,
in now. I can't believe
yeah.
9 years has gone by.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I know. 10 years is next year for Drylands. Yeah, can't believe it. Yeah, it's speeding up. Time's speeding up.
Yeah, it's frightening. I was at the Chris Isaak concert a few months back,
Oh,
and you were the opening act for him. And so, you're so good. And I remember listening and think, oh my god, I have to interview you again. You've got an album coming up and all of this stuff. So yeah. And what was that experience like for you? Because Chris was great, but you sounded beautiful on stage.
oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it was, I mean, I've loved Chris Isaak for a long time and, particularly the song that everyone else loves as well, you know. I've had Wicked Game in my set for many years as well. I didn't play it at the show, you would have noticed, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. The were lovely, and he was very kind and just a lovely, very humble and funny, and just yeah, a great sort. It was a really nice couple of shows. Yeah.
So Sabotage, it was June, wasn't it? You released that album,
Yes.
I think.
Yep.
What I was interested in is with the press stuff that came about the album. It says that the album is an expression of love and quiet hope above gnawing self-doubt. So what I was wondering is just unpick that for me a little bit. What's going on in all of that?
I mean, that's the PR, isn't it? No, no. I mean, I don't know. I think songwriting for me is a way to get the stuff out, and so I think that's my outlet. And so, not that the whole thing or all of what I write is always autobiographical, but it's a way to, like, in my life, the rest of my life, I'm pretty upbeat kind of a person. Everyone's kind of really worried about these sad songs. I'm like, oh well. Yeah, I think I really like, as a fan, I love listening to sad songs. I love sad music, and it moves me. So um, yeah, I guess that's naturally kind of what I write.
Do you have that sense of doubt within you? I mean, most creatives do, most people do, most creatives do, and that's
Oh,
what kind of fuels a lot of the writing, even if it becomes an uplifting song. So just explore that for me a little bit.
absolutely. I mean, I think that's the constant battle as a creative, and uh, as a creative who has stubbornly decided that this is all I'll do. Is, of course, you have that. Self doubt is kind of a part of it, and I sort of feel like I try and frame that self doubt in a, not a positive way, but I think it's just a natural. If you want to write or create things that connect with people, you've got to have the understanding and the empathy that for other people's experience, I think. And I feel like that. I think self doubt is and imposter syndrome and things. It's not unique to creatives. I think that people that are in big fancy jobs and run companies and things, I'm sure a lot of the time they're like, oh, what if someone finds me out? So yeah, I definitely, of course, I think, oh God, what if this turns out to be terrible and no one likes it? But I think that is the thing that you learn over many years of writing and releasing music, is that it doesn't matter, like, if there's someone that it speaks to or that can connect with it, then that's kind of the thing that matters. And if you can, yeah, it's just pushing through the question of, is this good enough? Which it never is, but you just have to kind of draw the line at some point and yeah, put it out.
I guess that's the human connection, though, isn't it? Because if we weren't social animals, then we may not have that doubt. So it's almost a check, isn't it? Because it's keeping us connected to other people. What other people want, need, and think is important. It's that whole empathy thing, isn't it? As long as you can get it in balance so that the doubt doesn't overpower you, then it's
Yes,
actually a
yeah,
really useful part of any connection with another human being.
I think so. I think without a bit of vulnerability and a bit of yeah, that yeah, I guess humility or whatever it is that you. I think without that, you miss the human connection, and that's the whole point. And that is why music. That's how I think that's how music moves people. It taps into that. It taps into that kind of shared experience. I think you know.
And you're about to go on a tour around the country, the Sabotage Regional Tour, I think it's called. And so tell me about that, because obviously the connection live with people is very different than sitting in a studio and recording songs. So what are you looking for and looking forward to as you tour the country?
Well, yeah, I mean that is my favorite. You know, that's my favorite part of the whole thing. To be honest, like the writing and the studio side of it, the recording and producing is, I find difficult. I find it hard work, and I will put it off for a long time because I find it hard. And so, whereas performing for me is very, it's kind of like my Zen space, I guess you could, describe it as, for want of a better word. I think it's just that immediate connection with an audience, and it's not like a one way. It's not like the audience is listening to my song and then they're clapping. It's not that. It's not that. It's like a. It's going to sound very airy fairy, but it's like in a live setting, the connection with an audience is such a circular thing. Like you feed off them and they feed off you. And this thing in the room that will never be repeated, and it's in that particular way. And like even this from like watching a live record, live video of something. There's no substitute for being in the room, and so I feel like that's my favorite thing is just playing live and just having fun with audiences, and meeting people, and just I love it.
You're doing the tour of New Zealand, September, October. What's next on the agenda for you after that?
Um, it's just kind of always, the cycle is always, it just kind of carries on, like I'll be writing towards the next record, and they generally take, it's kind of like everything, they always take longer than you think. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it'll just be working on that. But there's quite, like, because I'm like I have a great team, but I'm still self-managed, so I still have to drive the you know yeah, just drive things, I suppose. And so it's just honestly, a lot of what I do is admin, which people might be a little bit disappointed to hear. But it's just the nature of being, I think, being an artist, an independent artist now. So just, I mean, making like this record that's just come out, there's still a lot of work to do with that, and I'll be touring that, festivals and stuff, and then just looking towards the next record and kind of carrying on.
So what's the advantage of being independent in your mind, of not being managed?
When I started out, so 15 years ago, the great goal was to get signed to a major label, and that was kind of the big dream. But that didn't happen, and at the time, I was kind of, I was quite disappointed, and thought that was the only route. But it ended up that just doing it myself and being independent has been, it's actually been a great pathway, because it's been a super slow build. And I think it's just enabled me to, just for the sort of career, for the music that I make, and the career that I want, and that is sustainable. It's meant that I have been able to kind of pick up like I feel like I've got like just a really loyal audience, I think.
Yeah.
It's never been in
Hmm.
like massive, like I've, haven't had commercial radio, but I think through a lot of touring, and I guess through the records and things, I've picked up just a lovely audience who stick by me. And I feel really lucky about that. And I think being independent has helped that, because it means that I decide kind of, everything essentially. Like, I decide what happens. There's definitely, I'm not saying that, that it's been perfect. And I'm sure there's lots of times when I would have loved,
No, I get it though.
to help, or the funding is a constant battle. I suppose that's probably the biggest downside of being independent, is that, the funding is always, someone's not just writing a check for that. That's, you're putting it on your mortgage, or whatever you're doing. You're applying for NZ On Air, or I do. I put my records up for pre-order now, which is really helpful when my audience really get behind that. So it's In summary, I actually feel really lucky to be independent, and I think too it just means that I have, I own all my masters, and I have control over what happens to them and kind of how it plays out. So it's good. And in hindsight, I'm glad.
Yeah, well, speaking as an independent journalist, I like the ability that I can make my own choices, and I don't have to seek anybody else's permission to do what I do.
Yes.
And so music is obviously a different beast, but I do get that the control aspect of it, and it's not about being controlling. It's actually about I want to work out where I want to go with my work, and I figure that's probably the same fit for you in your position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. You just nailed it with that. That's exactly right. And it just, it means that you're kind of nimble enough to take opportunities as they come up. It doesn't have to go through 5 layers of management, and by the time the opportunity kind of gets okayed, it's passed. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, final question. What is your go-to comfort food? Particularly if you're having a moment of that self-doubt. What will you like to snack on or have chow down on?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know.
Hardest question yet, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, I'm probably just a bag of chips if there's some in the
that crunch.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I would, cook up a delicious slow cook something, but the chances of me getting around to that are probably quite slim. So yeah.
Well, bag of chips, they're always good, especially in an emergency. You can't go wrong.
I think, especially if you're on the road and you inevitably, you finish a show, there's never anything open. The only thing that'll be open is a petrol station. So, take your pick. Maybe it's a saucy roll. You just...
Yeah. Actually, you can't go wrong with a sausage roll either. Hey, Mel, lovely to talk to you. All the best for the upcoming tour, and I know it'll be fab for you, and it's your favourite thing. So all the best for that.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to chat.